The Old Second Division presents the Championship Podcast.
Good morning, everyone. Today, the Old Second Division will be having a very interesting session with Mr. Paul O'Brien, who is the Commercial Director of Watford. We'll be asking our questions one by one and getting to know more about Watford Football Club and how the club's been functioning across the last 1 year. Paul, thank you for your time today. So, Paul, the first question, what are the biggest takeaways in terms of transition that a club goes through after facing relegation from the Premier League to the Championship?
What, commercially or just in general?
In general, Paul.
In general, obviously, the difference in funding is absolutely phenomenal. I can't express how much it changes a football club to be relegated from the Premier League. It's you get parachute money, as we all know, but the difference is phenomenal, and it is a real hardship of getting relegated from there. Commercially, we obviously got relegated in probably the worst ever time when there was a global pandemic going on as well, and we had no fans going back. We all get relatively the same solidarity money, so where clubs in the Championship can succeed are on your commercial money of actually the amount of people who walk through a door, the amount of people who come into a hospitality, and then on your then on TV money as well. You get paid. It's not like in the Premier League where you get 10 guaranteed games, and anything more than that in the Premier League you get money. In the Championship you get paid per game you play. So you have no way of actually knowing how many games on TV. We've had a lot this season because we've been in the promotion push for the majority of the season. So we've had lots of games on TV. But there's some massive differences. In sponsorship, there's something called matching minutes with Sky Bet. If you do have a betting partner on the front of your shirt or a betting partner, they can't go above a certain amount of minutes before you have to start matching those minutes with EFL. So we had to match a lot of minutes this year because we have a Sport 5 relationship as well, who have betting partners. So there was a huge amount there. So I think what I would take away again, having been relegated, if we were in the Premier League doing a front of shirt deal, which we are planning for at the moment, there would be a clause in there: if we were relegated, your minutes on LED would drop down, just knowing that what we've been through this year and how many minutes we had to buy back from Sport 5. If there were fans, there's no doubt about it, the demand would be so much lower, and that is just part of the journey when you go down. Instead of playing Manchester United, you could be playing Wycombe on a Tuesday night like we had this year. No disrespect to Wycombe, but it's just not the demand there. So for hospitality, we spend a lot of time going into London and working with big corporate companies there. And the truth is they're not interested in the Championship. They're only interested in the Premier League. So they haven't got that Watford connection. So you're back to really doing what we started 6 years ago, what I inherited, and looking for Watford people who want to come along to hospitality rather than corporate companies coming along. I honestly, I could go on about this all day. The difference is phenomenal of Premier League to Championship. I never really understood it until we were relegated, how much of a difference it is.
Callum, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, hi Paul. You've obviously touched on how Watford acclimatised to the Championship there. But what are Watford's plans for the future as the club eyes promotion back to the Premier League?
Well, we were doing really well, Callum, off the pitch in the Premier League. We had an international strategy, which we're just working on now, if we go back up. Something Rohan's at the very heart of as well, and we're trying to connect clubs, create a Watford connection. So we'll be a club in India, a club in China, a club in America, a club in all around the world, different clubs around the world where we can connect them together. Bit similar to the City model, but obviously not ownership, just in complete commercial opportunities. And then if it can go over to talent, we will see down the line. So that's one thing we're looking to do. We're looking at all of our partnerships at the moment. we have got some partners who work in a championship but don't work in the Premier League, like we had some in the Premier League who didn't work in the championship. So we're looking at that. We are just planning our renewals at the moment on hospitality. Bizarrely, we haven't had renewals for a long time, so we never really had to go out with that much information about the championship because we didn't have prices. So we're planning from there. And then into granular details, we're just looking at CapEx now. So our LED boards are 5 years old, which is the life cycle of LED is around 8 years, but after 5 years, it's a bit like a 5-year-old car. It starts having cracks in it soon. So we're just looking whether we need to renew our LED for next season and get in the cost for that. And there's some stuff around the stadium we need to do from there. So a lot of that depends on the Premier League. For just to replace the LED is a huge amount of expense. So we wouldn't be doing that if we stayed in the Championship. Also, for a couple of different reasons, we lost some staff. Not because we got relegated or COVID, just some staff left and weren't replaced. They had different opportunities. So we're looking at that at a minute, a bit of a recruitment drive in the summer.
Angela?
Hi, Paul. My question is, can we have an explanation as to how a day in the shoes of Paul O'Brien, commercial director of Watford FC, would look like?
Every day is different. Every single day is different. I have young children, and I always set my alarm very early so I can start work before they wake up, then get them ready for school, and then I come into the office. I like being in the office rather than at home. It doesn't suit everyone working from home, and it certainly doesn't suit me. It's so hard. It's so hard, Angela, because every day is so different. Today, we've just had a partnership meeting a moment ago, which run on. We're changing caterers this summer, which is a question, which is something I should have said earlier when we were talking about what we're planning for next season. We are changing caterers. So I've got a catering meeting just after this about the mobilisation of a new contract. We've then got a meeting straight after that about the demobilisation. So a previous caterers going out, about how they're getting on demobilisation. And then all afternoon we've got meetings about hospitality renewals. And then I've got another partnerships meeting after that. So it's always hectic. It's always different. I try and save up most of my calls for a journey in and a journey home, because I have a distance to drive, which suits me for making calls. The one thing I'm trying to get out of the habit of is actually getting the laptop back out in the evening, because I had one last Thursday where my kids went to bed, my wife went to bed, and suddenly I got my laptop out about 10 o'clock, thought I'd do an hour's worth of work. Then you're wide awake, and then your alarm goes off at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. So you don't feel like you've stopped at all. So I don't know if I have my work-home balance perfect, but I'm not sure if many people do. But it's a really hard question to ask that, I'm afraid.
Hi, Paul. We wanted to know how has the Covid-19 impacted the club, and how is the club looking to counter the financial loss of having played behind closed doors?
So you can't get up that money at all. You think we've got 20,000 fans here. We're a small stadium for when we were in the Premier League. 20,000 fans. We had around 1,000 people in hospitality out of that. That loss you just can't compete with. And it's not even just the tickets you sell. It's the F&B. It's the food and beverage they buy on the day. It's everything that goes with it. It's the programs. It's more people going into your shop. You just can't compete. But what we have done very well is that streaming has been allowed to come on. So you're allowed to charge for your streaming. We've been number one in Championship for amount of passes we sell. But so I think this weekend it was about 8,000 passes we sold. So £8,010. It's a decent amount of money. But compared to how much, so just say, for example, we net off around 1.5 million in streaming this year. That's nothing compared to what we've lost. Absolutely nothing. You have to move everything to digital, but you can't. There's just no ways of competing with that money. And for years and years, we've been sitting here trying to work out how much of an impact it would be when broadcasting money comes down. because we all know it will. We won't be on the same wave as we've been on for a long time. We've been doing that for years, but we never sat there and thought, what would we do if we didn't have fans for a year? Because why wouldn't we have fans for a year? No one saw us coming. There's just no reason. But now we will always have in the back of the mind a contingency of what happens when the fans come in. And if you throw in that we had that and relegation and a transfer market which wasn't moving last year because of COVID, it was a horrendous cocktail, and it's a cocktail which I don't think any of us saw coming or would ever want to be in that situation before. So to answer your question, you can prepare for everything, that things can catch you out like COVID has for all 92 clubs, but you can't compete with that match day money. It's just nothing. And you think of our stadium of 20,000. Well, imagine Spurs. Imagine everything what was underpinned Spurs Stadium was on hospitality and GAs and getting people early. And you've probably seen the numbers of people getting there early and how much money they're going to spend. That's gone for a year, and it's such a huge impact to a club.
Abby?
Hi, Paul.
Hi.
So, having the motto of Global Family Club, how has Watford gone about establishing this image, and what are the plans for the future with regards to satisfying this aspect?
Original Family Club is not a slogan we sat there with a whiteboard and made. It's something organic. It's something it's not like saying we're the most innovative club in the world or the most inclusive club in the world. This is something which is organic for us. We were the first club to ever put a family stand in. If you read back to Graham Taylor's ethos and methods, we stick to that. To every decision we make, we stick to those family values. And I think some things, I don't think we need to prove that we're a family club. I don't think we need to go out there and look to prove it. It comes out organically in the things we do. For example, when COVID hit, we gave our whole stadium over to the NHS, and we were feeding around 2,000 people a day were coming through from the hospital, which we were paying for food. We were serving the food ourselves. We were all volunteering to do it. All of our boxes got turned into bedrooms for doctors because we knew how little rest they were getting. Our lounges were getting turned into, we called it a sanctuary, where they could go, where doctors and nurses can go and chill out. And I've never seen anything like it. That I'll always been haunted by people turning up, the doctors turning up, and their face looked like they'd had a face mask tattooed to it because it had been on for so long. It was before we all started working with face masks. But we gave everything over to it, and we were all in volunteering for that. And that's the sort of thing we look to do. And we don't shout about it. We try not to shout about it. I don't think that shouting about it proves that we're a family club. I think we just need to do it organically. What we need to do in the future, I think I would like to spend more time getting to know the Kit Aid guys. I think Kit Aid is a fantastic charity which we should do a lot of work with, and just keep going as we are. I think our actions continue with the family club ethos, what we have, and let that continue. And we'll always let that continue. We've never been in a case of putting season tickets up a fortune. We've got Junior Hornets, which is one of the biggest, huge part of this club, where we have all of our young fans coming in. There's competitions every week. There's meeting players virtually at the moment. So we do a lot. But what I don't want it to sound like is the original family club is something we sat down in with marketeers and worked out a slogan for this club. It's just organic for this club. It's just part of our DNA.
Tom?
Hi, Paul. With all the games you had this season, obviously the same as normal amount in the Championship, but they've been coming thick and fast. Do you have any particular favourites from this year?
I have a least favourite now after this weekend. I think, because we went to Coventry we lost to QPR where we were 1-0 up and then somehow threw it away to lose 2-1 in the last minute. Went to Coventry and it was a 0-0 draw and we played turgid. And all week we were getting absolute stick after stick from our fans, and we had a club legend come out and wasn't very kind to us in the press. We had a supporters trust come out about our senior managers and not very kind to us. Just everything all week was horrendous. And then on Saturday we're playing Bristol City, and Bristol City weren't on a terrible run at that time, and we beat them 6-0. And it wasn't the fact that it was 6 goals or that I don't like using the word thrashed the team, but it was more of that relief that the players had it in them to do that. And that was probably going home that night. It was suddenly, look, we've got a springboard. We got a chance now to use this as a springboard, and we did. We went on, and since that, I think we've won 11 out of the last 14, drawing 1 and losing 2, and that's tremendous form. We just need to keep it going to the next 2 games of the season.
Paul, one last question. Could we have your thoughts on the European Super League and how its effects would filter down the football pyramid?
Well, the truth there, I would suggest, if you guys want real granular details of the money, go and listen to what Kieran Maguire's been saying in the last 24 hours. The effect of how the money trickles down would just be humongous on the 4 divisions, on the pyramid. It would just be terrible. I think for me, the worst thing here is an integrity part. You can't, if you had 15 founder members and they are in it no matter what, then the competition, the integrity of the competition goes down completely. I think, personally, it's a big play to try and revolutionise the Champions League. I don't think this will happen. I think the Champions League will change. I don't think it will happen yet. I think Gary Neville was spot on. It's everywhere what he said. So I'm sure you guys have seen it. It was absolutely spot on what he said yesterday. I don't think the fans would buy into it. I think if UEFA had their way, you've seen they've said they will stop players playing internationally, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Not ridiculous, but it's a ridiculous notion that we could have players playing for English players playing for Chelsea and not playing for England. It's a complete mess. But we've had a year of this. Do you remember Project Big Picture, which Rick Parry was behind? And it was something I was looking at, absolutely astonished this had happened. So we've had a year of things being thrown out, and I'm hoping it'll be a calmer year now. But no, it's astonishing that this has come out how it has come out a day before the UEFA were going to make their Champions League recommendations, weren't they? So, but to answer your question, Rowan, how it would affect the pyramid financially, it's astonishing, and I would take some time to find what Kieran Maguire is saying about it, because he's going into absolute granular detail on it, and it will be devastating for so many clubs.
Well, Paul, that'll be enough. We'll let you go now. You have a busy day.
All right, thanks guys. Really enjoyed that.
Paul.
Thank you.
Cheers. See you soon.
It was your Championship podcast by the Old Second Division team. Thanks for listening to that podcast. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms for daily updates on the best league in the world, the Championship.